Hello, my name is Jimmy, and welcome to the Genesis G80. While this isn't the flagship G90, the G80 is still quite luxurious and a very nice place to be. Genesis started back in 2008 with two models, a Genesis Sedan and a Genesis Coupe. I mean, can't get any more difficult than that. The Coupe died off a few years back as, let's be honest, no one's really buying coupes these days. But the SUV, the GV80, is brand new. Same thing with this, the G80. The G80 is to compete with like the Mercedes E-Class and the BMW 5 Series. And looks alone, I think it's definitely going to stand out. I love the front end. The Genesis Crest front grille, absolutely beautiful. Quad LED headlamps, magnificent. Here in Canada, we only get two models of the G80. The base with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder and the top trim with a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6. The silver card that you see here is the base model, while the green one here is the top trim. From the outside, there isn't much other than the wheels to separate the two. Arguably, the wheels that's on the base model, they are a little bit more interesting, but they're only 19s compared to the 20s that we get on the top trim. This 5-spoke pattern also gives the vehicle a little bit more of that sportier appearance. With either trim, we still get this beautiful silhouette and it's accented with this amazing belt line here. And I think it's one of the largest side markers ever fitted to a vehicle. What's interesting is these side markers, they're perfectly in line between the headlights and the taillights. A very nice touch. It's just a distinct look. And overall, I think it's a very, very beautiful machine. If you're thinking a traditional E-Class of the 5 Series is just too normal, this definitely will stand out. Let's take a look at the inside, starting with the trunk. We have 13 cubic feet in here, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually quite spacious. Sadly, the rear seats can't be folded to carry more items, but there is a pass-through in the center for you to carry skis or whatever long, thin items you really want to carry. Moving on to the back seats here, well, it's a very, very nice place to be. There's plenty of headroom, there's plenty of legroom. I do have the front seat move forward, but even in a normal setting, there's plenty of space here. The panoramic sunroof stops right before the occupant's head, so there isn't a compromise in terms of overall headroom. There are little sunshades here on the side, which is a nice touch, and a powered one for the rear, which you can activate with a button in the center console. There's also heated seats, but I feel like it's lacking something. Because in other parts of the world, there's a lot more that you can get in the back of the G80. You can get cooled seats. You can get a multimedia system. It's just better than what we get here in North America, which is certainly a bummer. Another bummer is getting into the rear. Like most vehicles, the Genesis G80 does have proximity key, which means you only have to put your hand behind the door pull to unlock the vehicle. Sadly, this sensor is only available on the front doors and not the rear. So in order for you to unlock the rear doors, you have to put your hand on the front doors first, then the rear doors can open. It's a little bit of an inconvenience, but let's talk about those front seats. Depending on trim, they do differ a little bit, but even on the base model, it's really comfortable. On this top of the line here, there's heated and cooled seats. There's the ergo motion seats, which kind of move the bolsters around. Check out this stitching that's on here. It's absolutely phenomenal. One thing that is missing compared to some of its competitors is the lack of heated panels. Some other manufacturers give you heated door panels like the armrest on the side as well as the armrest in the center. On the Genesis here, yes, you get heated seats and a 2-stage heated steering wheel, but the panels on the side, those aren't heated. It's definitely not a deal breaker, but it is something to note. What we do get here is a beautiful cabin. There's leather and soft touch materials everywhere around, even on the base trim. While there are some glossy black plastic, it's also matched with aluminum trim that spans the entire dash. On this upper end trim that we have here, we got this beautiful wood finish that actually curves up by the hazard button. It's really, really nice. Unlike the GV80 where the steering wheel is an odd 2-spoke design, we get a 4-spoke steering wheel here. But it's still a little bit odd. Honestly, during my time with it, I haven't had any problems. Behind the steering wheel is where Genesis put in a little bit more effort. Rather than a traditional display, there's a 3D unit here. It's very similar to the system that you find in like the Nintendo 3DS, for example. The gauges, it really just pops and comes to life. Sadly, this doesn't show on camera, but it is amazing on how it looks, and it's still configurable depending on your drive modes. While it's not as configurable as like Mercedes, for example, I would say this is good enough. And for those who are looking at the base model, you still get the half digital, half analog unit, which is fine, but it's just nowhere near as flashy as this. But no matter what trim, the flashiest part of the cabin is this amazing widescreen infotainment display right here. It's a little bit of a reach if you were to use the touchscreen, but there is a rotary knob on the center console that you can use as well. It features a very well laid out menu system. There's also Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto. Sadly, we do have to plug these in as a wireless option is not available at this time. Overall, this is a really, really beautiful cabin. You got soft touch materials everywhere, leather where you really need it, suede headliner. I mean, you really just can't compete with this. This is just beautiful. But let's go for a drive and see exactly what the driving experience is. Guess I gotta get myself out of here. Ugh. Oh yeah, soft closed doors. Always a nice plus. Gotta love soft closed doors. But like I said, let's hit the road and see exactly what the G80 is about when you're on the road. Because, I mean, as a G80, you're probably not going to be sitting in the back all the time. Yes, it's a nice place to be, but it's not an actual like limo like the G90 would be. So, what does it feel like? Other than the fact it feels like any other car, but a whole lot quieter, it's really the gist of what you get in here. It's a very composed riding vehicle. It's soft, no matter which one you get. Even the top trim that we have here with the automatic road scanning and the adjustable suspension, it's still quite soft. Even when you have it in sport mode, the suspension doesn't really change all that much. But in no way is this a sports sedan. Any M performance vehicle or an AMG performance vehicle would be a whole lot better than this. This is more of just a well-rounded cruiser. I like to drive this. It's enjoyable. But no, I don't want to drive this on twisty mountain roads. This is more suitable just on a regular street here. And that's why the base engine actually makes a little bit more sense. The base 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, it makes 300 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. Yes, it is a 2.5 liter turbo 4, so it doesn't make the best sounds. But it's more economical. And it's actually quite suited for the vehicle. 311 pound-feet of torque is more than enough to move this vehicle. I don't think it needs the V6. But if you jump into a V6 and you drive it for a little bit, you can't really go back to the 4-cylinder. Because with 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque, it's not mind-blowing numbers. It's not an M5, but the power delivery is smoother. And the soundtrack that you get out of the V6, it's just smoother than the slightly coarser 4-cylinder. Acceleration obviously depends on which engine you get, but with the 6-cylinder here, it's quite good. 0 to 60 miles per hour comes in at 5 seconds. If you get the 4-cylinder, that's 6 seconds. I mean, 6 seconds is not slow by any means. It's enough. Thus, once again, why I probably would choose the 4-cylinder. But that's just me. I mean, I'm just looking at what's a more well-rounded package. But what I do like, no matter the trim, Genesis has a lot of safety items within the vehicle. There's the radar guided cruise, there's the lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, and all of it works really, really well. On the highway, it almost drives itself. Not fully, but it's pretty close. And when you turn on the left or the right turn signal, I love how the display is able to show you any vehicles that's in the blind spot. And this is in addition to what's on the blind spot monitoring. All right, let me pull over here and just go over this vehicle. The Genesis G80. Who is it for? Well, to be honest, there isn't a whole lot of people that's still buying Mercedes E-Classes and 5 Series. People are buying GLEs and X5s. That's why the GV80 that we can see here is going to outsell the G80. It just is. I mean, if we take a look at Cadillac, Lincoln, they pulled out of this market for a reason. It just isn't a competitive segment anymore. And it really shows. I think Genesis did a really good job here in updating the G80 to just suit with a lot of people's needs. The overall infotainment, how usable the interior is, it's actually a very nice place to be inside. It's actually a good experience to drive. And overall, there isn't a whole lot of complaints. Genesis priced the G80 in a very, very good place. The base that we get here in Canada, it's 66,000 Canadian dollars. That's $50,850 in the US. And the top trim with the V6, 76,000 Canadian dollars. Yes, in the US, you can get a lower end trim than what we get in Canada, as all Canadian models come with all-wheel drive as standard. You can get a rear-wheel drive model for $47,700. And these prices, they severely undercut its competitors. The 5 Series, a base model 5 Series, starts at $64,000. Mercedes E-Class, $65,000. A6 starts at $63,000. And this is before you stack on any options, because any of those German rivals, once you stack a few things onto it, you're looking at well over $100,000, or at least really close to it. This doesn't even reach that. And that's where Genesis comes in. And on top of that, Genesis gives you, at least here in Canada, a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty where they can pick up and drop off your vehicle from home. So when it's due for service, just give them a call. They'll drop by a Genesis for you if needed and pick up yours and return your vehicle whenever it's done. It's just less hassle for you, less things for you to think about. I think Genesis has something here. But this probably isn't it. The GV80 though, that definitely is. So go take a look at that review if you haven't seen it. It's up here-ish. But in any case, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.